Hey everyone! I hope that you guys are doing amazing wherever you're around the world. My name is Shikha, and I welcome you to my channel. As always, I'm so grateful you're listening, subscribing, and commenting. I really appreciate the support. In this one, I want to speak to you guys about a topic that's a little bit out of the normal scope of things that I normally do, the things I speak about, I think. But I want to speak about this because it's so important. Because I literally was like, I was reading this post and my mind blew open, and I'm like, what? And so I wanted to share it because I think a lot of us are influenced by social media at this moment in time, and I want us to be careful because there's a lot of misinformation out there, but a lot of misinformation being spread by unknown people, unknown beings, unknown organizations. We have no idea why they're spreading it, what their agenda might be, why they're trying to influence us, what they want from us, and things like that. So it's a time for us to be really careful about what information we're letting into our system, into our brains, into our minds, and really be careful about our mind palaces. Extremely important because it's very easy, unfortunately, to manipulate us. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, no one can manipulate me. I'm completely fine and my critical thinking is great. Unfortunately, it's extremely easy to manipulate human beings in general. Very, very easy. And if you look at any psychology book and you look at the studies that they've done, it's insanely easy to influence people, human beings, to copy the people around them. I'll give you a quick example from a book that I read. And basically, it was the idea that there was this person who was in a waiting room, and he was a patient there. He was waiting for a doctor or a dentist. He was sitting in the waiting room. He was browsing through a magazine, and there were a bunch of actors around him. So all the other people in the room were actors. He didn't know that, obviously. He didn't know that. He just thought they were patients too. But all of them were actors, and they were all around him, just sitting around. And suddenly, all of them got up. They stood up and they started clapping. Right? There was nothing going on, nothing changed, but they all stood up and started clapping, or they stood up and started doing something particular. And he saw them all doing it, and he was just sitting there thinking, okay, what's going on, obviously, at first. But then because he was the only one not doing it, he stood up and started clapping too, or he stood up and started doing whatever they were doing. He started copying them. Even though there was no need for him to do that, the only reason he did it was because everyone else was doing the same thing. There's another study where there were people standing in an elevator, right? And so obviously when you're standing in an elevator, you face the front door so you can get out when the front door opens. Well, this person walked into the elevator and he was standing there and everyone's facing the front. It was normal. Obviously all of them were actors and there was one person who was the person they were studying. And all the other actors turned around while the elevator was moving from floor to floor, turned around and started facing the back towards the glass or whatever it might be. And he saw them doing that, and he's like, what are they doing? Why are they facing the back? And in a moment or two, he turned around and faced the back too. There was no reason for him to do that, except that everyone in the elevator was doing exactly the same as that. So he's like, all right, I guess I have to copy them. There was no need for him to do that, guys, but he did it because that is what we are. We're social creatures. We follow the crowd. We're herd people. Even if you might think, oh, I'm not a sheeple. It's a very high likelihood, I am the same as well, a very high likelihood that we all are very much influenced by the people around us and by the social media and other people around us, celebrities, the media, whatever it might be, right? And so I wanted to read you this thing that I read recently. So Business Insider apparently says that roughly half of the Twitter accounts pushing to reopen America, and this is in May 22nd, reopen America are bots, researchers found. Roughly half of the Twitter accounts, right? Now, there's been a surge in bot activity in the past month in online discussions about reopening America from COVID-19 shutdowns, researchers at Carnegie Mellon University said this week. All right, this is in May, end of May. The researchers analyzed over 200 million tweets discussing COVID-19 and found that roughly half of the accounts were likely bots. Bots are like robots. So not real people posting, but just bots. They identified the bots by looking for accounts that tweeted more frequently than humanly possible or whose locations appeared to rapidly switch from one country to another. It's unclear who's behind the surge in bot activity or whether they're originating from the US or abroad. Now, of course, I'm not a conspiracy theorist here. Obviously, I like to be like, all right, everyone has a good intention, la la la. I'm a hippie in that regard. But when I read this, I was thinking to myself, it's fascinating, first of all, fascinating to me that there are organizations out there or people or media whoever this person is who's kind of controlling all these bots, out of 200 million tweets, 100 million tweets are controlled by these bots, probably by some organization who has this bot going around and saying, let's reopen America. And that's one of the reasons why America opened up earlier than they should have. That's why they have so many more cases than they expected or that they should have had. If they just stayed closed for a few more weeks or a couple more weeks, perhaps the numbers would have been much, much lower, right? Now, I'm not an expert in this regard, but I find it interesting that there was this social media surge, this Twitter surge that is telling people to reopen America, not by real people, but by some robots, some bots, right? The thing about this is that probably what happened was that all of these people who are on Twitter and they noticed these bots, not knowing that they're bots, saying that we should reopen America, it's our right, it's our freedom, it's about our freedom of expression, or they're holding us back, blah blah, whatever they were saying. And a lot of people who weren't thinking this way previously, they probably thought to themselves, interesting, there's a lot of people who think this way, that we should reopen America. If there's so many people saying this, it must be true. And that's how usually human beings think, right? And we're like, well, a lot of people are doing it, so I should do it too. That's why a lot of people get married. It's not because they want to get married, it's because everyone's doing it. Let's get married kind of thing, right? Or a lot of people have kids for that reason. They don't necessarily want kids or need them or having desire to have them, but everyone else is doing it and they have peer pressure and they're like, let's have kids too, right? And that's just like one of a billion of things that we do just because we're forced by social interaction or peer pressure, or we think that everyone else is doing it, so we should too. And so we are social creatures. We are influenced by the media, especially social media right now is very powerful. And so can you imagine there is this entity out there, an unknown entity, that's pushing out all of these misinformation. Of course, they shouldn't have reopened America that quickly, I believe, and a lot of other people believe too, and a lot of scientists believe too. And so they did based on the pressure, because what happened was that these bots started pressuring people into believing that they should reopen America, and then people started protesting that they should reopen America, and then of course the government and media and all that stuff got pressured as well, and then they reopened America faster than they should have. Perhaps it's a corporation that's like, oh, I'm losing money, so let me kind of push this out. Perhaps it's the media, perhaps it's the government, who knows? It could be an outside entity, it could be Russia, China. We have no idea. The reality of it is, it doesn't matter who's doing it. The point is that, the whole point of all of this is that we need to be careful about the information we're letting into our mind palace. It's extremely important because especially right now, there is a lot of misinformation going around through social media channels. WhatsApp had to reduce the number of forwards to 5 only because there was so much misinformation being forwarded around in India and other countries about the coronavirus and how you can drink black tea to reduce it or to cure it, or you can drink a lot of alcohol to reduce it, or you should drink bleach. I mean, there's all this misinformation, and WhatsApp had to completely curtail that by reducing the number of forwards, right? And this is the kind of stuff that's going on. People are just going a little bit berserk. They're sharing all this information, not knowing that it's not coming from a true source, and they're putting all this misinformation out there, and there are these bots doing it as well, coming from who knows where. And so all of this to say, please be careful about the information you're letting into your mind palace. Be critically thinking about everything that comes at you. None of the information online is true completely. It has influences from everywhere. Even me right now, I'm speaking to you and I'm influenced by so many different things, right? Some known, some unknown. But so you have to be careful, make your own judgment. I'm not saying that you're always going to make the right judgment, but if you could just be a little bit more critical about it, perhaps you could make a better judgment than you would have if you just blindly followed everything that you read online, right? Now, it's very important, as I said, because you don't know who's trying to influence you. You don't know what they're trying to get you to do. Now, they're trying to get you to do something, but we don't know what, right? And so, again, as I said, be careful because, as I said, there's these bots. You're not even being influenced by real people, but by a robot, by a robotic device that has no mind of its own and is just doing the bidding of its owner, whoever that owner might be. Now, this really scares me because, as I said, we're very easily influenced, and they could just push out all these bots saying all these useless things, dangerous things, and we could believe them and start moving towards an idea that's completely false and actually unhealthy and not good for us, actually dangerous for us, right? So again, as I said, I just want you guys to think about this. I'm not an expert in this situation. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't think that the world is out to get us. I don't believe it is. in general, I believe that people have good intentions, but again, we need to be careful. We need to be careful because, there's all these things going on in the world right now, and unfortunately, it's time for us to pay attention. Okay? I hope this makes sense. I hope that this was something useful to you guys. I will try to share the link of that post that I saw about the article from Business Insider. But I'm sure you can just Google Carnegie Mellon University bots Twitter, and it'll come up on Google. Again, thank you for watching. Thank you for being on my channel. I really appreciate your support, and I shall see you guys the next time around. Bye for now.